it's now, is she alive or dead?
Dead.
Because I'll tell you, the first thing that I'm getting is the two of you in the 1920s on a tennis court. Um, Either sisters or best friends, both of you athletic. N- it could be somewhere wealthy because this feels like Newport, Rhode Island. Okay.
Wow.
Um, that's all I'm going to get for now. But
That's so
you
funny
may
because I
want,
found pickleball a couple of years ago and I'm obsessed with pickleball. So I wonder if that's why
see,
like it felt so
that's
natural to play.
now that's one of the things that I love because you didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
And this past life just came up in the middle of stuff. And because it was frankly a very benign past life, I felt like I could share it a little bit in public. If I had
Yeah.
seen something desperate, traumatic, you would not have gotten that from me on the air because you weren't prepped. See that
Yeah.
difference?
Do you ever feel like no matter what you do, it's not good enough? Like perfect is the only standard, but you're still left feeling behind? Perfectionism keeps us stuck. It robs us of peace, of our joy, and the freedom to just be. That's why I created Beauty of Imperfection, Good is Enough, a guided workbook to help you let go of the pressure, quiet your inner critic, and start celebrating progress over perfection. Inside, you'll find tools that remind you your worth has never depended on being perfect. It's time to embrace the beauty of imperfection because good really is enough. Let me remind you, you are always worthy. You already are. Get your copy of my workbook today. Emotionally unavailable.
Okay, so I did look over briefly. I mean, I can't act like I spent hours, but I did look through the things that you sent me. If it's okay, I do want to talk about let me not let me not say the name of this book incorrectly. The Psychic Yellow Brick Road.
That
A,
is
I want you to
correct.
know that I feel a little starstruck. That doesn't happen very often, but because
Please.
you know so much shit and I'm really excited. So the
I'm
reason that
70. When you're 70, you'd better know a lot of shit.
that's so
But what
true.
did you
That's
do with
true.
your life?
That's true. And I know a lot for 45. Damn it. Um I I think the reason that one really called to me is because A, I had a spiritual awakening whenever I was going through healing. I've always been intuitive, but I was raised super religious and was
Hmm.
like turned off to all of that. Like that's demonic. But I've, obviously since shed those beliefs, but it was a slow shedding and now I'm full in. So the reason that I'm excited about this book, I love your writing style, first of all.
Thank you.
And because I'm trying to get people to A, lean into these natural gifts that we have, but also see like B, like see how important these parts of us are to being our well, I'm probably not gonna word this right, but full human self, even though that's a little oxymoronish to talk about in that way. But I feel like
It's
our
not.
human experience has to include that, or should, or is better. I'll put it. But I like that you have written a book about how to like get the most out of seeing a psychic. I think that's so cool. So
There
what
aren't any other books out there like that.
no, and that I was like, this is different. Like nobody talks
Hmm.
about this and I actually was like what I did read was like, "Oh my god, it confirmed some things that I had already like had to kind of come to in my own place where cuz
Hmm.
I mean, I don't just trust everyone and what they say. And even when I first started seeing a medium, I believed him, but there were truths I hadn't come to yet, and he triggered the shit out of me. But I just like decided right then, like, I'm gonna take what resonates, leave what doesn't for now. And then I came back to those truths later and understood what he meant. But at the time, I
Hmm.
wasn't ready for them and it pissed me off. So, but I could have like reacted the way my old self would have and just like, fuck you, fuck everything you said. But instead, I was just like, I don't like that, but we're going to focus on the parts that really brought me some peace today. And then, I'll look at that later. So I'm so excited that you have written a book about how people can get the most out of this and almost how to trust your discernment when you are speaking to people
Mhm.
who it's really easy for us to view psychics or mediums or anyone else as an authority because that's the system we've been raised in, that somebody who has knowledge that you don't have or feel like you don't have, or advice that you're seeking, that they are some sort of authority over you. And it's easy to kind of put yourself in almost a victim place in situations like
Right
that.
there. Right
Yeah.
there. You see, one of the things I remind people is even the best of us are only 85% accurate. We're human. The only one who's 100% accurate is God, and you're not going to see him at a psychic fair or on the phone or
Right.
in a session. You're just not.
Yeah.
And as far as understanding it, it's because everybody can do what I do. I'm not special. Um, I often find it amusing. I lost a reality show once because I wouldn't let them lie and say that nobody could do what I do. Because all my life I've said we're all built the same way. It's like we all have 10 fingers. Everybody can pick out chopsticks. Some of us really like the idea of playing the piano. So we study, we learn to read notes, and we practice. 1 in 100 Milton is either Alicia Keys or Elton John. Now,
Right.
I think I'm in the middle there. I'm not claiming to be the 1 in 100 million. But when people realize what we do is not something they can't do, they relax a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, I wrote this book specifically because of something I saw 20 years ago at a massive psychic fair in Toronto. Now, I know the promoters, I adore the promoters. They are pure professionals, but when you have 250 booths, you cannot vet everybody.
Right.
So across from me was one of the fake gypsies. Now, they
Oh,
are real Roma, and I respect them, but these are the ones that wear the said headscarf and the jingling jewelry and the long skirt, and they do bad accent, and they can be gypsy. So,
like Miss Cleo. I
oh,
sure
Miss
did read
Cleo,
that part in your
Jamaican by
book.
way of East Los Angeles. Yes. Um, there was a woman who was walking down the aisles, and she was looking at all the booths, and then the fake gypsy across from me, that I will refer to as Madame Hoo-Ha,
I love
ran
it.
out of her booth and grabbed this woman. Now that's called hooking, and it's as bad as
Yeah.
the other kind of hooking.
Uh-huh.
And the fake gypsy goes, "Oh, you no need to pay 30, 40, $50. I need your pound for 10. Come." Drags her into the booth. She had a screen like I have, so, nobody sees. 20 minutes later, this client walks out crying hysterically, and a bunch of us run over to see what's going on. The gypsy had said, "Oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4? Your dog? $50 every family member, 25 for dog. He's small, we fix." And told the woman if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles at the Roman Catholic Church, "I bless real good, only $1 candle." Her entire family was going to die in a car accident in 2 weeks, and she bought it. That's why I wrote this book. That's
Ah,
why people need it. That's also
yeah.
why its subtitle is How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys.
Yes. I was intrigued by that because I was like, oh, because flying monkeys is a new, like, narcissist term. But I think it fits in that realm
Mhm.
too. Like the people who maybe they don't feel like they're scamming, but they do feel like they're a little too big for their britches. You know what I mean? Like the people who come
I
in with
I
that fucking attitude.
I refer to that as they think their aura don't stink.
Yes, yes, that's so perfect because yes, and it's frustrating as a person who's I, I've I've allowed my heart to open in a way that I never have in my entire life in this last couple of years. So in some ways I felt a little more vulnerable in certain situations,
Mhm.
and I do have good discernment, and that was one of the first things to learn was, like, I can trust myself, so it is okay. So I don't worry as much about me, but I definitely have let people hurt my feelings, and I just don't think that I don't think that's what the gift is intended to be used for,
Mm-mm,
Like, to be an
mm-mm.
authority or to act like your aura don't stink.
And when when you say people have hurt your feelings, people you've read or people that you went to for a reading?
Not necessarily went to for a reading, but, people I've met through networking who, like, read because it comes up when they're talking to me without getting too specific.
Oh, that's called a drive-by psychic shooting.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get your permission. Their ego trumped your safety factor.
Right.
Okay. And people do that because of what they see with a Long Island medium. There's an
Yeah.
episode, they're in Wegmans, which is our great supermarket around here. There's a woman feeling up the cantaloupes, and the Long Island medium walks up and says, "Excuse me, you're Aunt Doris. She says that you have a bald tire in the back and you're going to die in a car accident if you don't get it fixed." Just telling you when she walks away. This is such bullshit. Number
Yeah.
one, her PR people went out and scouted out all the Wegmans on Long Island and chose one. Then they interviewed people and had them sign legal model releases, and then they rehearsed it for 6 times. But people see that and assume they have the right to do that. They don't.
Yeah.
This is why I teach people. If anyone comes up to you and says, "I have a message for you," your opinion, say, "Please stop. I do not want it, and I do not accept your information." And if they hassle you, you go find the manager and have them thrown out.
Yeah. And I think that's important for people to hear because when it happened to me, I was like, "The fuck?" Like, and then because I didn't respond the way that they were hoping I was gonna respond, which if in my heart of hearts was to be like, "You're so" whatever it was they wanted me to say good about them. And
Mhm.
that wasn't my response because I was like, "Wait, what?" And I'm so open to mediumship and all kinds of intuitive abilities, but, like, can you ask first, please? Like, can you like, because if you do, I mean, I've even asked people who were coming on my show, like, if you feel like reading me while you're here, that's fine. I mean, I don't care. But the way it was done was just inappropriate. And I was like,
Mhm.
I don't like that now this whole interaction is jacked up because you just did that.
Yeah. But it even happens to us intuitives at psychic fairs. The classic I use is Little Dancing Raccoon. No, she's not a real person, but she's the glurpy purple with the angels kind that says, "Hi, my name is Little Dancing Raccoon, and here's my spirit guide, Arctic Bear. Let's see what your angels are going to say." I'm sorry, I'm from New York. I vomit. Um, so, I'm an A-lister there. At a 4-day show, I'm likely to finish reading 70 people. And at the end of it, my neck hurts. And so I'm doing this. And the little dancing raccoon comes up and says, "I know Reiki. I'll fix it." And I say, "No, thank you." "No, really, I'm good." "I'd appreciate it if you didn't. Just let me back off." "You're not
Yeah.
very love and light, are you?" "Well, you didn't listen."
Yes.
You have a right to get in their face when they do that. And if somebody gives you information you don't want, you just look at them and smile and say, "Thank you for sharing." You may think that if you wish, and you go.
Can I ask your personal opinion on something? What do you think
Probably.
about general collective readings that people do on TikTok?
I'm on TikTok, and sometimes they're good and sometimes not. For instance, I do a weekly read for the atmosphere, especially the political atmosphere with the Washington Follies,
Mhm.
because that is a global.
Oh,
But,
absolutely.
just reading your horoscope in the paper, yeah, it's Pisces, but it doesn't take anything else into account. You're being a cosmic muffin. No. When I do my free reading hour, which I do alternately on Twitch and TikTok, if people say, "Can I have a reading?" I go, "Yes," and I move on. That all I'm going to give you is vague. If you say, "Please pull a card on my relationship," "Please pull a card on career," um, "Can you tell me what's going on with my spirit guide? Do I have a message?" Now those I can direct, and they're fine. I just tell them, "I don't want to waste your time or mine with giving you something vague." But
Yeah.
when they do that, baby, nobody flips cards as fast as I do. In an hour with 150 to 200 people in the TikTok chat, I'll read probably between 40 and 50. Boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
Well, when you've been doing it as long as I have, it's like going to the gym every day.
Well, and
But
you trust what you're hearing and feeling, and
and
you
my
like, you don't
ego is
need to
on the shelf
question
reading
it.
a book.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, I'm relieved to hear that you are on TikTok. I'll be stalking you, but also because I've kind of been like, some of them I really feel, like some of those people that
Mhm,
I come across, I'm like, I feel connected. I feel like you know what you're talking about. And then some of them, I've gotten a real dark feeling about a couple where I'm like, I don't know
mhm,
why, but I don't need to know why. I just block them because I don't want to see
right.
them again.
Well, when you go on there, what you're going to look for is the no bullshit psychic. That's the brand I'm using. And you're not going to see this. You're going to see t-shirt, no makeup, You get to see the office, but I do hide the cat litter box because there are a lot of people on there with the crazy dyed hair and the jewelry up to here so that when they do this, they're jingling and they'll give you things like, what's the Solomonic key to opening your refrigerator? I don't do that.
Yeah.
Um, I am much more straight hour and useful. For instance, the last TikTok video I did was sometimes your intuitive's most compassionate answer is no. And that explained because a woman called me on my Office 9, which is my cell phone, crying. I was in the parking lot of the grocery store and she desperately needed a reading and she wanted it right now. And where was I located? I said, well, I'm in a parking lot. And she was about an hour and a half north of me. And I said, I really can't do it now. She said all the other psychics always cheated her. They never told her things or they took her money. Said, well, where are you? Well, I'm in this housing place that social services put me in. And so it was clear that she had been battered or homeless. Her mental state was in the toilet, and she had been taken by so many psychics. Either they took her money or they told her things she did not want to hear, so they didn't tell her the truth. I
Hmm.
just said, I'll pray for you, and I hung up and I blocked her
Yeah.
because in the old days, I always had a spare tarot deck in my glove compartment. I could have pulled it out and read her, and I would have turned myself into a pretzel for her, and it would have done her no good or me. There
Yeah.
are some people, when you are not in a mental state to be clear about a reading and hear it while still maintaining your own sovereignty, is what I'm hearing. You don't
Yeah.
need a reading. You just
Yes.
don't.
And I feel like if you're in that desperate place where you're trying to get one right here, right now, A, you probably already know the answer, but B, you're looking for somebody to say something very specific and you're not where you need to be. Like, cause well,
That's
that
right.
brings me to a really good place. How do you feel people should enter into that space? What should their expectations be?
None. They should have done their research ahead of time. All right, let me give a quick tutorial on how to find a psychic at a psychic fair if you don't know anybody who's ever been. I tell people they have to be good puppies. First thing they have to do is their walkies. They have to go around the psychic fair and just look at the booths, don't talk to any, just get a feel. Then go get paper trained. What does that mean? That means you go to the psychics who may feel good and you pull one of their rack cards or a business card or something like that. Um, in the back of Yellow Brick Road, I've got a picture of what a rack card should look like. And you read through it. Then you can go back. You'll have 3 or 4 that you like. Don't talk to the psychic because they're going to tell you they're wonderful and that doesn't count. And their front people, if they have one, are hired to say they love us. My
Yeah.
original front person was the magnificent Laura Spickerman. Laura was my husband's office manager at the museum he ran Monday through Friday. Do you think she's going to dismiss his museum director? Probably not. What you want to do is we all have testimonial books on our table. Trust them. They've had readings. Find out, are we funny? Are we accurate? Are we kind? Do we have specialties? Children, dogs, dead people. Would they come back? And the last thing is check in, heart level, kids. You are your best intuitive when it comes to does it feel right? If it does, sit down. If not, leave. There'll be somebody else. There really will.
Yeah, I love that. The very first psychic I went to was at a little shop in Dallas. It was a quick little day trip. I went with a friend who doesn't necessarily fully believe in psychics, but I was just now starting to like be really open to it.
Hmm.
It was I got lucky because she was amazing. But then she also paid for an energy healing session that I did with someone else, and she was a complete whack job who from the beginning I was like, okay, so you're trying to like um she was presenting really just eccentrically, and you could tell that it was for like, it was very manufactured, and she was trying to get a certain reaction out of me, and I
Hmm.
was like, "Okay, well, that's fine." I mean, I didn't care one way or another, and, we left, and that first psychic, like, everything that she said has come to fruition, but also she just knew me in a way that was, like, really intimate, like, the
Hmm.
things that she was saying, it was really cool, but um, knowing what I know now, I do feel like probably that second lady is more common in the spaces that we're seeking
Yeah.
if you don't know where to look, you know?
She's more into her ego than service.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because she was it's hard to describe how she was, but everything was theatrical, and it wasn't like, I can feel genuine energy, I've always been able to. She was so not genuine, and I was like, "I don't know what you're doing here, but I'm not gonna take anything you say seriously
That's
because
one
if
of the
you
other
say."
things about a lot of the TikTok psychics is they think they have to be theatrical.
Yes.
Again, that's why I chose No Bullshit Psychic.
Well, and I think that they think that, like, Teresa Caputo and all those people are successful because they act a little out there, but I think it just, like, is the work itself that people are drawn to, and this
Should be.
person just has big hair or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, because James Van Frog, I think was his name, was the first
James
medium
Van
I.
Praagh. Yes.
Yes. That's the first medium I ever had exposure to in my life because my grandma was a huge Oprah fan. I mean, I was too, but, um I don't think he was real theatrical. I don't remember feeling like that's why I was drawn to the work, you know?
Hmm.
It was just I was obsessed with the thought of being able to communicate with people who had died. That was
Hmm.
I've always been obsessed with that. So,
Hmm.
I really do think that people just well, I guess it's like everything that we do. You get a picture of what it looks like from media. So much of our programming comes from
Yes.
media. And then you
Yes.
think, okay, I need to play act that. Just like therapists. There are, I'm a therapist and lots of therapists are play acting therapy. I know some that I'm like, that's not how I would do that, but okay. But I think that
The,
any field is like that.
the only concession to unicorns and glitter farts, as I call it, that I make for me is the skunk stripe that other people think is a wisdom streak. No, the rest of my hair looks just like that, and the rest of it is better living through chemistry, but it's the color I used to be. But I leave the skunk stripes because they go, oh, she must be very wise. Well, fine, sit
Right.
down.
Yeah. Especially if you wear it in a certain way and you're like, let me look at my crystal ball.
Oh, you're never going to find me doing that. When you sit down with me, first thing I ask you is, what's the most important stuff you want to look at today? And if you go blank on me, I go Brooklyn on you, and I go, darling, what's biting your butt? Because everybody's got one.
Yeah.
And when they say, well, I don't know, what do you do? I say, people come to me for four things: the everyday tour bus, house, car, job, kids, finances. Okay, gotcha. But you're what the hell? Past lives. Why am I afraid of oatmeal? Spirit guides and angels, and dead people. So what do you need? Now, the
Yeah.
way I do dead people is very different. I do not go, I see a woman in a flower dress handing you a rose as grandma. Ugh, no. I do what I call getting their dog tags. For instance, my father, Jerome Richard Dorkin, who died in 2001 at the age of 80, doesn't tell me anything, but it gets me right into the energy. And for some reason, my guides play charades. They had surgery, there was an accident, they smoked, they towed, whatever. Um, that's not the usual vague things. And the minute that we get them, I open the door and they talk to them directly. It doesn't sound like them, but I say exactly what they say. But that is why you'll never see me do a mediumship gallery, because I don't censor.
Ah.
Years ago in Canastota, New York, there was a biracial same gender couple. The black partner had died, and her white widow wanted to speak to her. See this face? Nice kid from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, had manners. But what came out of my mouth in flawless urban ebonics, not even going to say on here because it's
Yeah.
that rude. And I
Yeah.
was just, oh, but the
You're
women in
like,
front of me broke out laughing and nodded, because those two phrases are how her partner Isabel walked into the house after every business trip. You
wow.
can't do that on stage.
Yeah.
And so for
Yeah.
me, mediumship is always private, one on one. Everything else, I've done past life galleries like that, major ones. And the thing is, don't just say, can I have a past life? Yeah, you did. It's always, how has it affected you now?
Yeah.
Perfect example. A woman came to me and said, I'm really worried about my son. He's 29. He won't make any major decisions without me. He won't even live more than a mile away. This is not right. Is there a past life or something? And, you know, I get him fast. So it was like this for 15 seconds. And I said, okay, 1944, Utah Beach. So this is D-Day. Your son is a soldier. He's down. He's got shrapnel in his leg. You're his commanding officer. You drag him over the dunes. You take some shrapnel too, but you both live. And I opened my eyes and she's very pale. She says, "Can you see my rank?" I said, "Yeah, you were a sergeant." She goes, "He's called me sergeant since he was 3 years old and we have never known why." Now that's a past life that was useful because she had it on a recording and she can take it back to her son and say, "That was then, this is now." And see
Yeah.
if maybe he's willing to. But, I often say, do not come to me and say you must have been Anne Boleyn because you can't wear turtlenecks. Do you know how many times I've heard that?
No, really?
Yes. Everybody thinks they have to be somebody famous. And I've only gotten famous people for past lives 3 times, maybe. One of
Really?
them, yes. One of them was Mercy Otis Warren, who was Abigail Adams' best friend and well known in the Revolutionary War. Jacob Riis, who was the famous black and white photographer who took pictures in the beginning of the 20th century of the tenements. And this was for a woman who couldn't understand why she hated color pictures and only wanted to do black and white. And a woman who was the reincarnation of the investigative reporter Nellie Bly. And I had no idea what she looked like, but she and Nellie were identical twins.
Wow.
We have important lives that aren't in the history books.
Right.
So,
Well, I've been wondering lately if oftentimes your past life was in the same family lineage.
um, it very often can be. For instance, you heard me mention my father. My father was my best friend. He was the one who believed in me. Um, and through my own past life and pre-birth planning and research, Dad and I have always been best friends. We're generally same gender, same generation. But this time, in my pre-birth plan, I knew I had really laid out a tough life for myself to get a lot of stuff done. And I would need a best friend for a father. So that soul agreed with my soul to come in and be my dad. We even
Yeah.
had the same birthday, March 8th.
Really?
I
Wow.
oh he says I was his 34th birthday present, and I thought for 4 years I came in a box with ribbons until they disabused me of the notion. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and of course I've had wonderful contact with him since he's passed. Um, he sometimes comes in and does medical consults with me. I don't do them often, but if it's cardiac, I tend to. Dad was a cardiologist.
Yeah.
There was a woman in way, way, way upstate New York, like close to the Canadian border. She was a nurse, still 74 and working. She said, "Could you just do a check?" And I hear this rustle of a coat behind me, and I point to the empty air, and I said, "I'd like to introduce you to my father, Dr. Jerome Dorkin. He was a fabulous cardiologist, and he still does consults." Now, me, I fainted blood. I have no medical background whatsoever. But I open up, and I immediately say, "What's with the T waves?" She looks at me. 3 weeks before, she had had an EKG, an electrocardiogram that showed abnormal T waves. Now,
Mhm.
what did my father do for decades as director of the heart station at Cooper Hospital in Camden, New Jersey, but read EKGs?
Mhm.
So I turned and I looked at the empty air and I said, "You're still a pretty damn good doctor, even if you are dead." He laughs. I'm sorry.
Was she
But,
open to that, or was she like,
oh, she loved it.
I love it.
She loved
Yeah.
it. And I think she trusted it more because dad was a cardiologist.
Yeah. She's like, "Okay, well, hey, thank you, doctor." Yeah, I have felt much closer to my mom specifically in the last few years, like, so really since I had a spiritual awakening and my belief systems completely changed.
Mm-hmm.
Um i i was like, oh, okay, for sure she's on my spirit team, but also, like, I just feel like we've had so many lives together, like her
Mm-hmm.
specifically. I think all, like, and my grandma and my dad, they've all passed, but there's something very specific about my relationship with her that, like, feels different even daily now. Like, we're closer than ever, you know?
Now, is she alive or dead?
Dead.
Because I'll tell you, the first thing that I'm getting is the two of you in the 1920s on a tennis court. Um, Either sisters or best friends, both of you athletic, It could be somewhere wealthy because this feels like Newport, Rhode Island. Okay.
Wow.
Um, that's all I'm going to get for now. But
That's so
you
funny
may
because I
want
found pickleball a couple years ago, and I'm obsessed with pickleball. So I wonder if that's why,
see
like, it felt so
that's
natural to play.
now that's one of the things that I love because you didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
And this past life just came up in the middle of stuff. And because it was frankly a very benign past life, I felt like I could share it a little bit in public. If I'd
Yeah.
seen something desperate, traumatic, you would not have gotten that from me on the air because you weren't prepped. See that
Yeah.
difference?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that fucking weird lady, all she kept talking about was like my animal past lives as a salamander and, like dying
I'm
like this and da
sorry.
da da. And I was
No,
like, okay,
no, there
crazy.
is no transmigration as far as I know.
Yeah, she was, see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Why
My
I
cat,
discredited every
well,
word out of her
you were a
mouth?
salamander. Probably she watched that Star Trek Voyager episode where Tom Paris and Janeway turned into lizards or something.
Yeah, because whenever I was telling people what she said, because I'd never for a second believed a word out of her mouth, honestly. I do think she had a lot of Reiki gifts because she did pick up like where certain pains I had were, but then she'd come up
Hmm.
with this completely fucking wacky explanation for it. Maybe because she didn't want to say what she truly saw, but it was stupid. What
No,
she
she
said was
wanted to look
stupid.
wiki woo.
Yeah, yeah, and
Mm-mm.
I couldn't even give her like pretend. I was like, okay, like, looking at my watch. But, yeah, I'm like, I don't fucking think I was a Salamander King, bitch. Everyone I told was like, "Did she watch?" And I'm like, "Don't ask me. You go ask her because she was weird. She was weird." But
Hmm.
see, for me, I think this is, like, a really good example, and I've been lucky to have other mediums on too, of how and why this can be so helpful in a journey to discovering yourself, to healing, to
Hmm.
getting the most out of your human experience,
Yep.
because the level of peace that I have received through being able to communicate with like my parents, specifically my grandma too, because
Hmm.
she was a narcissist in this lifetime and really fucked me up. And but the things that I've come to understand about her, about my mom, about my dad, like I have so much peace now that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And I think
Hmm.
that's the point. Like, yeah, you can go be the Long Island medium and do all of that, but the point really was about getting the most out of this lifetime, and
Yes,
that bringing in that information is helpful.
very much so.
Why do you have a way that you would frame why it is a good thing or a good idea or helpful, however you want to word it, for people, especially people on a healing journey, to have this type of service done in any of these realms that we've talked about?
Well, with me, it's not ego. I'm here in service. It's one of the reasons I'm a certified tarot master. I've been reading since I was in high school, 1973. But I also use oracle decks because people are story oriented and picture oriented. So, for instance, if you said, I'm opening up a vintage clothing store, is it going to be successful? First thing I would do is correct you. Don't say, is it? Because what if I say no? And that sets you up for the Madam Who has to sell you a $600 success candle.
God, you're
Always
so
say,
right.
how?
How?
And
Yes.
I do not pull three cards and say, wait until October and fire the second redhead. What the? So it is an entrepreneurial reading. Oh, sorry, I'm kicking my desk. A
No,
card
you're
for
good.
you, a card for any partners in the business, a card for the brick and mortar location, a card for the energy of the business, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. One of the reasons I can do that is because I was an executive recruiter for years. So you're getting that knowledge factored into the psychic work. But notice
Mm-hmm.
you now have a blueprint that you can take and make your business rock and roll.
Yeah.
Romance readings. If you say, does Bruce love me? Pull five cards. You, Bruce, the relationship, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Sometimes I'll also pull the karmic cards. If you still go, I don't know, then I do my three threes. Three cards for status quo. You just hang in there. Three cards for the come to Jesus meeting, and you do serious counseling and draw a line in the sand. Three cards for hostile abide by. It's big dice. I'll send you a postcard. Now, Leave could be coming to me with a Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice sign, but I have to zip it because now it's your free will. If you say,
Yeah.
I guess I'll just stick it out, I've given you the information, it's what you do with it. But
Mm.
there's one exception for that. If you tell me you've been battered, gaslit, you feel you're in danger, immediately the reader's turban comes off and my reverend collar goes on, and I will teach you how to leave safely.
Yeah.
But that's the only time.
Yeah.
The rest of it, it's your free will. You need to come out of somewhere with me feeling empowered. Now, sometimes you will not like what I say, but I won't change it. Kitchener, Ontario, I used to go up there 3 times a year. Labor Day. There was a woman who sat down with me and I saw some challenges that I told her about. And she looks at me and she says, "You suck." And she gets up, walks away. Have a nice life. New
Oh,
Year's, I'm,
goodness.
no, 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 no. It's fine. New Year's, who's the first person at my desk but her? And she said, "Last time I said you sucked." I said, "Yes, I remember." "Well, I thought everything you said was bullshit, but then my daughter got pregnant and moved home, and now I'm going to sell my house to raise my grandson, and I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see." What I had told her is I saw her taking in a boarder and then possibly wanting to sell her house. Boom, boom.
Mm.
That's the thing. You must not change your message. I don't care if spirit gives you a plaid rutabaga rotting a fire engine. If that's what you see, you need to tell your client because maybe they say, "Oh my God, that was the first drawing I gave my grandmother who just died last week when I was 4."
Yes. When I first started reading tarot, I had a little bit of trouble because, well, I was just learning to trust myself. So, like,
Hmm.
I would see, or I have more, audience stuff. So, like, I would hear something and I'd be like, huh, what does it mean? Instead of just saying what I heard. And
Hmm.
once I, like, just started saying, like, I don't know what this means, but blah, 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 and really just becoming okay with, like, I'm not going to be perfect at this. Like, because that's,
Yes,
been a theme in my life is perfectionism. I'm sure
right.
you're surprised to hear that. But just getting to a place where it's like the work is this, that like I'm just coming to you to you, or you came to me to ask for a little more clarity. So obviously I'm the filter. So
Hmm.
like it's going to come through in ways that mean something to me. How I say it may not be perfect. And I had to get really okay with that. But at first I was so afraid of people doubting credibility that I would pause for way too long, and I mean, I was just reading Friends and stuff at first, so I was making way too big of a deal about it, but almost I was more worried about things with my friends than I was with strangers
Hmm.
because, well, vulnerability, I guess,
Of
but
course.
yeah, I had to get really okay with just like, I'm not gonna be perfect.
It helps knowing the allegory of the cards, which a lot of readers don't know. Let's look. This does not mean you're going to be hit by a bus on Tuesday. Death,
Right?
death of an old way of life, death of what you've outgrown, death of what was never you in the first place, big change. The Tower card is not necessarily doom, gloom, and destruction. I tell people, look at it like an imploding sports stadium. Okay? Red Sox want to build a new stadium. They got to blow up Fenway first and clear the ground. That's what this card is telling you to get ready for. Big changes, clear the ground, better stuff is coming. Um, this is not Mr. Horns in a Tail. It's not even Jack Nicholson in The Witches of Eastwick. It is being constantly bedeviled by something, someone, or some situation, or holding yourself back from your highest and best. Now, what other allegory? Six of Swords. Look
Mm,
closely. The woman in the boat mourns because she had to leave a lot of stuff on the dock that used to tell her who she was. But to get from the rough waters to the smooth, she had to do that where the boat wouldn't float. And this is the classic. Normally, this is the Three of Pentacles, and in most decks, it's stained glass windows in a church.
right.
I was reading a couple, again, up in Kitchener. Those were all my good stories. And for some reason, I looked at that card and said, I have no idea why. But I'm being told there is a deconsecrated or abandoned church a couple of miles from here, and you need to open up a cafe bakery. I'm thinking, run. They look at each
Right.
other and look at me and they nod. And yeah, we've been arguing about that one for 2 years.
Wow. It's
So,
funny how sometimes there is literal stuff in there,
yeah.
right? I love
But
it.
if you were ever going to read professionally, which is what my other book, You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie, is about, always have a children's deck if you're a reader. Because I guarantee you, you're going to be sitting with somebody who could not get a babysitter for 2-year-old Muffin. And Muffin is going to go, Mommy card, Mommy card, Mommy card. And they go, oh, cool. 40, let her pull a card with you. What are you going to do if all you have a tarot deck? Look, Muffin, death. No. What
Yeah,
you do,
yeah.
I have a children's deck. It's called Cat Wisdom. And it has little kitty pictures on it. And that
Oh,
way, little Muffin can pull a card and Muffin will be very safe.
that's so cute.
And
I
then I
love
can
that.
go
What a
back.
great idea.
Look, it'll save you lawsuits, I'm swearing.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
that's why I
man,
wrote the
people
other
are
book.
terrified of the devil card. It cracks me up every time. Like, because they are more afraid of that than the death card usually whenever I have,
Hmm.
like, experienced that. And I'm like,
It's because they've been taught about curses and people are doing psychic damaging. Is
no,
there
that's
such
so
a thing?
true.
Yeah, but not as often as you think.
Well, and I don't know. I kind of had to come to a place where I said, if I don't feel open to those super bad energies, I'm not going to be like, I don't need to be afraid of them because
Well,
I was raised only to understand spirits as demonic, you know? I know.
in the atmosphere today, yeah, things get attached, but their energy signatures are not demons necessarily. For that, there's a woman, her name is Katrina Rasbold, and she's an amazing bruja, which is Mesoamerican witch, but she's the gringa bruja because she's white. She runs Crossroads Occult in um, California, and she is amazing. There's something that in Brujeria called Olympia, which is a spiritual cleansing. And I was like you, ha ha ha, nothing. I was out there several years ago visiting, and her master class was doing Olympias, and I let one of them work on me. And I thought nothing. But the next 3 days, it was like I was getting over the flu, and then I was clearer than I'd ever been in my life. And she showed me, you take the egg, you break it into water, and there are certain things that you watch for. Boom, 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 boom. And again, she didn't know anything about me, but on target. So, do I
Right.
believe that there are things like on The Walking Dead or Wednesday? No. Do I think that sometimes our aura needs a good car wash? Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a great way of putting it. I mean, I think all of us are around enough people and spaces that like it makes sense that you're going to pick stuff up that you didn't necessarily want to. And
And
especially if you are super open.
the violence today, the us versus them mentality, the paranoia, the fear of your fellow man, yeah, it's a lot more common than it would have been years ago. So
Yeah.
be a little more careful.
Yeah. Well, what do you say to people who are questioning whether or not they should go see an intuitive person?
Good. Questioning is smart. First, read those reviews. See if it feels like you'd be simpatico. For me, it's come with a list of questions. If you just sit there and say, I don't know, just tell me stuff. I'm fast, but if this is your life and I only have an hour, I could get here. If what you wanted was down here, it's oh, she didn't tell me anything. So questions are good things. Come
Okay,
open.
good. Yeah.
Come open.
And earlier you said don't have expectations.
Yeah. You know, I adore my father, as you can tell. One of his classic things, he had a very wonderful basso profundo voice, was when he would call the grandchildren to talk to his brother. Um, he would intone, "This is the mysterious stranger." Giggle, giggle. Hi, Bump. Daddy, it's Bump. He's never come in with the mysterious stranger line. Ever, ever, ever. But he's come in with other stuff. If I had said to myself, it's not really Dad if he doesn't say, here's the mysterious stranger, how many conversations would I have lost with him?
Mhm. Yeah. And I think do you feel like the people who don't get because I have a friend who's tried desperately to connect with a couple of family members, and they'll connect with other members of her family, but not her. What do you think causes those types of blocks?
I don't know. On the part of the psychic, I don't think it's that. What I often say is, remember, we're not dial-a-dead. If Aunt Ruby is on a field trip up there, she won't be by the phone.
Yeah.
That's all. But that's one of the reasons why I specifically get the dog tags I do, so we can absolutely hone in on the person you want.
Yeah. I love that. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything that you feel like you didn't get to cover? Anything you want to
Six thousand
shout out?
things, we could talk for hours.
I
But
know.
the most important thing is, if today has been useful, pick up the book. Sorry, it's backwards. You can get it on Amazon. You can order it directly from me on my website. It's also in Kindle if you prefer Kindle. But I don't care if you never come to me. If that book keeps you safe anywhere else, then I did my job and I am perfectly content.
And it is, like I said, very well written. It's very down to earth. It's very, hey, you want to go see a psychic? Here's some things you can do to make sure you get the most out of the experience. Here's a way to protect yourself. Here's,
Hmm.
and people who feel vulnerable or fragile in general, it's good information to have because they do go in there a little more guarded and a little more afraid, or maybe just not like guarded enough. And I loved. Obviously, I didn't read the entire book, but what I did read, I was like, this is really good information. And like you said, there's nothing like this out there. So
Mm-mm.
I really feel like this was a giant service to humankind because
Thank
like
you.
it's not out there. And for me, it was just a confirmation of my own intuition. Like, and that's also very helpful. Anytime I get those, even though like if I was so confident in my intuition, I wouldn't need external validation. It's still nice sometimes to
Hmm.
receive that, like a yes, that's right. And that's the way I felt after the parts of it that I read. So I'm really grateful for the work that you do. I had a hard time even choosing which lane to pick for this conversation because I was like, damn, Corby, you be doing it all, honey. You got a little bit of everything going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God I'm a Pisces, but a Virgo moon and a Virgo rising. I may be a flake, but baby, I am an organized flake.
You poor thing. Your little soul's journey with having that much Virgo. Whew.
I know, but it's a grand trine water, which is why, I have to be a psychic. There just is no other answer here.
I know I've tried to figure out where mine is. I'm a Cancer Mercury, but I don't have like a lot of other water placements. I'm lacking a lot of water, so who knows?
When we're off, I'll give you the name of the best astrologer I know. She'll set you straight.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. I have loved every second of it, and thank you even for tapping into my past life. I really, when you said tennis, I was like, this is why I fucking love pickleball. And I knew it. I knew I love pickleball.
It was a
Okay, I'm
pleasure.
gonna stop and you just hang out for a sec.
Yep.
Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.